Today I'm going through 5 underrated bourbons that you might not be drinking, but you should be. Let's do it. Welcome to Average Joe's Whiskey. My name is Joe. Today I'm talking about 5 bottles that I feel are underrated. Now a lot of these are bottles that I kind of forgot about. They're bottles that I don't believe have made any of my other bottle lists. Either I just didn't think of them or they didn't really fit in. But for whatever reason, they're just bottles that I don't think I've talked about before, and they're bottles that I feel deserve to be talked about. So today we're gonna talk about them, and we're gonna drink them, and I guess that's all we're gonna do with them. So some of these bottles you may be familiar with, some you may not, but all of these I feel are gonna be excellent bottles, excellent value, and all of these I think are gonna be pretty easy to find. Whether it's in store or online, they should be pretty available. All right, enough suspense, let's get into it. Get my glass here. First up we have Smooth Ambler Old Scout. So this whiskey comes from MGP in Indiana by way of West Virginia. This bottle costs about 45 bucks. It comes in at 99 proof. Excellent proof point for the price. So this is MGP's 36% rye mash bill. 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. Smooth Ambler makes no secret that this is sourced from MGP. I really love the transparency. And this is just excellent MGP whiskey. About 5 years old. A lot of that rye spice. I get some of those MGP bubblegum notes that I usually get from MGP. But in this day and age when there's just like a lot of people being sneaky about sourcing their whiskey, Smooth Ambler makes no secret of it, and they bottle really good whiskey. For 45 bucks, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's got some really nice cinnamon, cherry cola notes, really sweet. And at 5 years old, it's not real grain forward or anything. It's just a really nice, sweet bourbon. All right, moving on. Next up, coming straight out of Kentucky, we have New Riff Single Barrel. So these New Riff Single Barrels say that they're aged at least 4 years, but I swear to God, this tastes like it's older than that. I would be surprised if this is not 5-year-old whiskey. So the New Riff is also a high rye mash bill. It is 60% corn, 30% rye, 5% malted barley. This one comes in at 113.5 proof. Like I said, aged at least 4 years, but it doesn't drink like a 4-year-old whiskey. This bottle has some really nice darker fruit notes. Spilling on myself, man. Yeah, this is more like a darker cherry, maybe like a blackberry or a raspberry. And it's got some like really nice vanilla undertones. So obviously this is a higher proof than the Old Ambler, and this does feel like it has a lot more depth. These typically sell, I think, for $50 to $60, which, I mean, 60 bucks for a cask strength single barrel is a pretty good deal, even at like 4 to 5 years old. Let's try another sip of this one. With this bottle, at least, there's not as much spice as you might think for a higher rye mash bill. I feel like in this case, the rye kind of brings out more of that cherry instead of the spice that you often get from rye. But this is just really well balanced, really delicious, perfect proof point. Like 113, that's right in my wheelhouse. I love anything in that 105 to 115 range. That's my sweet spot. Not gonna burn your face off, but not sacrificing any flavor either. So yeah, New Riff Single Barrel, excellent bottle at a very reasonable price. Next up, I have 2 bottles from a distillery that I've really been wanting to talk about, and that's Filibuster. So Filibuster is a Virginia distillery, which is the main reason I've been wanting to talk about it. But I also absolutely love their whiskey. This is one of their single barrels, and this is the bottle that I feel like is the best value. Now these are only 4 years old. It's not an old distillery, so they don't have a lot of old whiskey. But 4 years old, look at the transparency on the back of this bottle. They tell you the mash bill, how long it was fermented, the type of water they use, the barrel entry proof, how long the barrels have been seasoned. And these filibusters just have a really interesting flavor profile, different than most of the major distilleries out there. It's kind of like a nutty profile, but not peanutty like Jim Beam or Heaven Hill. It's more of like a pecan or a walnut. So these single barrels sell for around $60, and these are 4-grain. So corn, rye, barley, and wheat. The bottled and bond here is a 5-year, and this one is just corn, rye, and barley. The single barrels are higher proof. This one is 111.1 proof, so 111.1. That's pretty cool. The biggest downside to the 5-year bottled and bond is the price. There is a heavy craft tax on this bottled and bond. This is like a $90 bottle, which is pretty crazy considering Evan Williams bottled and bond is also 5 years old and you can get it for like 20 bucks. I will say this is considerably better than Evan Williams bottled and bond, but I don't know that it's 4.5 times the price better. Probably not. Let me have a sip of this single barrel here. Yeah, the palate is just super interesting too. Really matches the nose. Those pecans or walnuts really come through. I always thought these kind of tasted like pecan pie, but then I heard Fred Minnick review this one and he mentioned walnuts. And ever since then, I cannot stop smelling walnuts in these. That is the perfect note. It's exactly what they smell like. It's a very heavy walnut note, or like a pecan pie that has more pecans than usual. But man, just a super interesting bourbon out of the state of Virginia. Super proud of Filibuster. Here, let me pour a sip of this bonded, just to compare it to the single barrel, because I always felt like the single barrel is a better deal, but I know that they're really proud of this bottled and bond. So I'm gonna do a quick comparison. Yeah, this bottled and bond smells really interesting too. I'll say it smells a touch sweeter. It's a similar nose. I don't think it's quite as interesting as the single barrel. Probably because this is a 4-grain and this is a 3-grain. But very sweet. Let's try it. Definitely easier to drink, definitely sweeter. This bonded is almost like an apple pie. Yeah, definitely a little more fruit forward for the bottled and bond compared to the single barrel, which is got more of that walnut profile. But honestly, I love what Filibuster is doing. I think both of these are excellent bottles. I feel like the single barrel is probably the better value between the two, but both are excellent bottles. As a Virginian, I am very proud of the whiskey that Filibuster is putting out. I know they had some legal troubles a few years back. I think they got caught dumping some spent mash into a creek or something. But Sid, the owner, has repeatedly apologized. He was born in India, where that's kind of the way they do business, apparently. But personally, I would like to live in a state that produces great whiskey, and Filibuster is doing that. So I don't hold anything against them. I hope they continue to put out excellent whiskey. I can't wait until they have, 6, 8, 10-year-old barrels. I think it's going to be incredible. So Filibuster, please keep up the good work. And if you haven't tried either of these bottles, give them a shot. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Next up is a bottle that you may have heard some buzz about. This is the James E. Pepper Barrel Proof Decanter. Look how pretty this bottle is. This is a gorgeous bottle. I always love a gorgeous bottle when the whiskey inside matches the beauty of the bottle, which is rare. A lot of cool bottles have shit whiskey inside. Let's face it. So this is batch 24. Comes in at 53.8% alcohol. And supposedly the average age of the whiskey in this bottle is about 5.5 years. So it's not super old, but it is awesome. So this distillery has a rich history dating all the way back to like the 1800s. But it closed down in 1969 and was reopened in 2015 or something like that. They were putting out sourced whiskey, mostly from MGP, for a while, but they now have old enough distillate of their own to put out that is absolutely delicious. This James E. Pepper barrel proof is, wow. It just smells great. And this decanter sells for, I think, around $69.99. I've seen it between like $70 to $90 in my area, which honestly is not bad for a barrel proof whiskey in a cool bottle. Yeah, that is just excellent whiskey. It's got fruit notes, it's got confectionery notes, it's got spice, it's got everything. It's super well-rounded, well-balanced. Just a absolutely delicious barrel proof whiskey at a very reasonable price, in my opinion. So James E. Pepper, awesome whiskey. So that brings us to our last bottle of the evening. Another bottle from the great state of Virginia, Ragged Branch Cowboy Cut. So I picked up this bottle a couple of months ago at DMV Spirits. I haven't had anything great from Ragged Branch, so I really would have been hesitant to buy this bottle, except for the fact that I tried it first and I was blown away. So the process behind this whiskey is actually really interesting. So I haven't seen an exact mash bill for this online, but it's somewhere in the range of 68% corn, 16% wheat, and 16% malted barley. So that is a pretty unique mash bill, to have even amounts wheat and malted barley. And then this thing is twice barreled too. Twice barreled. So this is a high malt wheated double oaked bourbon. Retail on this is $79.99. And this is, in my opinion, this is awesome. So this has a lot of those like medicinal cherry notes. Now I'm a big fan of medicinal cherry. I know not everybody necessarily is, but you also get some of those delicious malty notes. It just smells good, and it tastes good too. Yeah, it's just a very unique flavor profile. It's got a beautiful color, super dark, obviously from the double oak process, and it just drinks so thick and viscous. Proof on this is 122.64. It doesn't drink that high. Like this drinks like a 110 proof whiskey. It's pretty amazing, actually, that it's that high. I forgot the proof was that high. By drinking it, seriously, you never would have guessed. But Ragged Branch absolutely blew me away with this bottle. I love it to death. I know a lot of people like their other stuff. I've always felt that it's, just okay. Nothing to write home about. But if they keep putting out special release bottles like this, then I'm gonna have to keep buying them. I don't know what else to say. It's good. Very good whiskey. And again, as a Virginian, very proud to have Ragged Branch in my state. Living in Virginia, I always kind of feel bad that the one distillery everybody knows is A. Smith Bowman, and everybody knows A. Smith Bowman because their whiskey is originally distilled at Buffalo Trace. So to have other great distilleries like Ragged Branch and Filibuster putting out excellent whiskey, it just makes me really happy. Seriously, it does. I'm sure that sounds stupid, but it makes me very happy. Very, very happy. So Ragged Branch, keep up the good work. You guys are killing it, especially with your cowboy cut. That stuff is awesome, man. Awesome. All right, guys, so before I go, I just want to let you know that I'm trying to crank up the content this summer. Like I said, I had to take some time off last week, but I'm back in action now, and I'm gonna start trying some new ideas. So I would love your opinion on this. Obviously, I love to talk about whiskey. It is basically my only hobby, and I love to talk about it. So I will keep cranking out the whiskey videos. I am also dying to talk about the new season of House of the Dragon. So if anybody cares about House of the Dragon and would like to see a recap video or some kind of video that involves whiskey and House of the Dragon, please let me know in the comments, because I feel like that would be a lot of fun for me. And if none of you care, then I might still do it anyway, but I don't know. But anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Average Joe's Whiskey. Have a good night.